thank you to the Northmore head coach for his great insight on his upcoming season and that last wrestling match. Now we switch gears. We go to college and a program very near and dear to my heart, the Ashland University Eagles. I have Coach Sponseller joining us right now. Coach Sponseller, three-time state champ for West Holmes High School, junior and senior national champ, Division I, All-American Ohio State, with past coaching experience at Edinboro and Ohio University. He's been with the Eagles for 4 years. Coach Sponseller, thank you for joining us this morning on our first show, on our first taping of The Takedown.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. So, Coach, coming into this year, 157-pound wrestler Drew Wires ranked 8th, 170-pound wrestler Nate Barrett ranked 8th, and Daniel Beamer ranked 2nd. Barrett and Beamer are both grad students. For the longest time when I was at AU, it seemed like the hardest thing to do was to keep guys out 4 and 5 years. How have you been able to keep those guys out, healthy, and engaged?
Well, I think our school does a good job with whether it's a business school or anything like that. We have MBA programs now available for the kids to take, and the way the students are kind of gravitating to is a lot of them come in with college credit. So, they graduate in 3 years, and then we can get them into an MBA program for 2. Academically. Wrestling wise, I think they want to accomplish their goals and they love wrestling, and I think here we have a culture that is good where kids want to stick with it and try to reach their potential, and be, make history for Ashland. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword as far as good thing, as far as retention through academics and athletics.
That's great. It's sometimes so many people forget, especially the young wrestlers coming up, looking for colleges. It is about the academics. There's not too many people that can make a so-called career out of wrestling past college. So they're great. That's some great insight. Brent Romanzak, one of the most decorated wrestlers in AU history, is your assistant coach. Brent was a national champ on 165 pounds. Not for COVID, he's probably a 2-time national champ. What's it like to have a guy like that in your room day in, day out?
It's fantastic. He's a guy that kind of knows the way. He obviously was a national champion, which there's only been 7 in AU history. So to have a guy that, has done it at the highest levels and then in the room with the guys, wrestling with them, talking to them, and putting his wisdom to them is huge because they can see him, they can see what he did, and they can try to follow that path. And I think that's the best thing about our history here at AU is there's always usually somebody in front of them that has done it before, somebody that's in the room. And when you have that, it doesn't seem like an impossible goal. So they can follow, they can manipulate, they have a roadmap to success. And to have that as a coach is huge. And when he came from an athlete to a coach, when I first got here to Ashland, it was invaluable. He's a natural coach. He's a natural leader. And he really transitioned very well from an athlete to a coach. And I think it's helped our guys tremendously.
Yeah, every time I've had a chance to have any interaction with Brent, I've been nothing but impressed. He seems like a stand-up guy and just really an Ashland kind of guy, down to earth, hardworking. So, the kids, in my opinion, you're right, are extremely lucky to have that guy in the room to follow in those footsteps. It's something when you're coming up and you have those goals of being a national champ or an All-American, and I know for me sometimes it felt like those guys walked on water. But when you have guys around you in the room doing it all the time and you're like, hey, these guys are human, they're doing it, and it's something I think I could do too. You're right, so invaluable. Currently the Eagles are ranked the number 12 ranked team in the nation. Knocked off number 21 Mercyhurst 2019 on December 6th before falling to Division II royalty, University of Pitt Johnstown, UPJ. what was the atmosphere over at UPJ? Is it still as hostile as it used to be? I remember when I was there, we went over there. I think they knew my girlfriend's name when we were there, and then they pulled out they had before social media. They had all the dirt on me. So what was that environment like?
It actually wasn't as hostile as it was 2 years before. I was surprised because I was expecting the same thing. Actually, the Mercyhurst duel last year at Mercyhurst was way more hostile.
Really?
They brought in their whole football team, had pots and pans.
Oh,
We're going crazy,
that's so cool.
making fun of Brett's hairline, and his tattoos. They were trying to make fun of me the way I stood. But I was coming into UPJ thinking it was going to be hostile like two
Right.
years ago, and it was a little bit toned down. Still, it's a tough place to wrestle. I mean, like they're similar to us. They have great history, so there's passionate wrestling fans there. So you get the occasional holler at you, but uh, it wasn't as bad, but it's still a tough place to wrestle. And
Yeah,
that's
it
the
always.
fun thing about it. You want to go to those places.
Yes. Yeah, it always reminded me a little bit. You turn on and watch Big Ten wrestling, and you see Iowa and you see Penn State, and that UPJ gym isn't much bigger than say a big high school gym, and they pack it full, and it's loud and it's rowdy. And you're right, it is so much fun to wrestle there, and such a cool environment for college wrestlers to enter into and have that experience.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was, when I was at Ohio State, we went to Iowa two or three times,
Yeah.
and I'm, Carver Hawkeyes 8,000 or something like that, and it's jam packed. I think we were ranked second at the time, and I'm warming up, getting ready, and jumping rope like I always did, and the student section's right behind our bench. So I'm jumping rope, and there, all you start hearing is guys just going, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" every time I skip the rope, and then I like would trip up on my feet or something. I'm doing something fancy, and then they just start yelling at me, making fun of me, calling me this, that, every which name in a book. And I think back on that, and I'm like, dang, that like they're on you, and that's kind of fun, especially when you go out and beat their guy.
Oh,
And,
we've both been a part of those duels where, especially in college, you could almost hear a pin drop. It was so
mhm.
quiet. And so to be able to wrestle in those kind of environments, and basketball players are a little spoiled, they get that environment, it seems like every week. So when you get the chance to go into that kind of environment, oh man, what a thrill that is, how much fun that is. It didn't work out. I don't know how it worked out for you at Carver Hawkeye. It did not work out well for me at UPJ. I actually had to wrestle a guy that went on to be a national champ. I was not anything close to being a national champ. So that match, I think I did make it all three periods, but it wasn't a fun match for me. I'm not sure how your match went.
I didn't
Uh,
have the best luck at Carver, but I did. I think I'm 1-2 at Carver, something like that. I've
that's
lost actually maybe 1-1. I lost to Ryan Morningstar one year, then I beat their other guy. I mean, I've had a lot of matches with Morningstar, but that's college. That's
yeah.
over.
There's a lot. I congratulate on that. There's a lot of guys who don't have a record anywhere close to that Carver Hawkeye. That's some awesome. That's an awesome story. Uh, I know you can't talk about specific recruits, but something I want to touch on real quick. How do you balance recruiting local guys with recruiting guys from around the country and the nation? Because it seems like sometimes the best teams at AU had that local flavor to it.
Yeah, so I'm obviously kind of a local guy, being a West Holmes graduate in Holmes County. So I obviously like my local kids, and it's fun to see kids that I saw wrestle when they were 6, 7, 8 years old in the youth programs, and then they're in high school, and I'm actively recruiting them. So I think it's important to recruit local, but I also think it's important to recruit around the state and outside of the state. I think it's good for diversity reasons, because a kid from Pennsylvania may be able to offer something different than a kid from Ohio or uh, Florida or Indiana or anywhere. So we obviously want to keep our local kids, local talent at AU. But at the same time, we're trying to get the best kids for our team that are going to fit the culture of our team, that are going to enjoy AU. It's like we have kids from Florida, Virginia, New York, Michigan, Idaho, all over.
Wow.
So and I see that as a good thing. But we also, a majority of our teams made up of local guys within the 30 or so miles. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we went to national duels one year, and I don't think we had one out of state guy on a team. I don't think we had a whole lot of guys from really south of Columbus, even. I mean, a lot of Columbus guys, a lot of Cleveland, Akron, Canton, Youngstown guys. Joey Veras, a good friend of mine, four-time All-American AU, dislocates 3 of his fingers wrestling against Nebraska Omaha. They put all 3 fingers back in, tape him up, and he wins the match. As he's walking off, one of the Nebraska Omaha coaches turns around, looks at his bench, and says, "That's Northeast Ohio wrestling right there." So, there's something he said. Like you said, recruiting nationally, you want those guys, but man, they build them tough around our part of the state.
Oh, great history with the program, great history just in wrestling in general, like you said, in Ohio. And so it's like you got to recruit your talent locally first, and if you don't, that's a disservice to Ohio wrestling in general. So, and me being an Ohio guy, obviously I'm very partial. I love my Ohio kids, but as with the tradition of Ashland and all athletics, you have a national reach, and kids want to come wrestle. And so I think it's important to not put blinders on and not look at those kids, especially with the way the internet is, social media is now. Your reach is so much larger.
Mm-hmm. That's great insight, Coach. Appreciate you getting that detail with us. One last question before I get you out of here. Midwest Classic is this weekend. You go to National Duels on January 5th and 6th. That is a rugged stretch to the schedule. And some guys have to step up, have some big time opportunities. Who on your roster should we keep an eye out to maybe this is the time they break out? Because if you're going to have a breakout time of the year, it's right now. Midwest Classic, National Duels.
Yeah, so it's a very tough couple events there. I mean, you're going to see a lot of great talent. Best teams in the country essentially go to Midwest and go to national duels. So I think if you look at like 125, redshirt freshman Luka Kuna has had some good wins. Kind of a family affair for him at Ashland University with his dad going to school here in wrestling. His grandparents taught here, but he's from Dayton. He wanted to come and rep the AU singlet. So he's having a good year. I think if you're looking at guys like Sevi Garza from Rittman, Ohio, very talented wrestler. I'd like to see him break out. You also got your returners, Nate Barrett. He's got to keep on plugging away and having the year he's having. Dan Beamer, Drew Weekers, those guys. Step up and carry that torch. Continue to carry the torch.
Yeah,
So
Acuna, I missed that one. You're right. Acuna, he goes to UPJ, knocks off the number 5 wrestler from UPJ. That's got to be huge. The number 5 knocking off. How many guys go into UPJ and knock off a top 5 ranked guy as a redshirt freshman? You have to be so excited about Acuna.
yeah. He's progressing every week, and I think it's a little bit of confidence every week too. Believing that he can compete. And we all believe, for the most part, you believe that, hey, I can compete with anybody, but you got to go out there and do it. So the more he does it, the more he goes out there and gets his hand raised or competes with effort every time. I think the better he's going to get. So we're almost halfway through the year, but I'm looking for big things out of him.
One last question before I let you go, because I got to get your impression on this. Watching the Big Ten Network, and the announcers go, "That's 2. No, that's 3. That's 3." The 3-point takedown. Give me your impression of the 3-point takedown. The 3-point near fall, it is what it is. I haven't made my mind up on that, but I'd love to find out what you think about the 3-point takedown, because I saw you wrestle a lot. You were a takedown machine. So give me your impression of that, and what would that have been like when you wrestled a 3-point takedown?
So I actually like it. I still yell too, just because, again, I had the same brain fog that a lot of other announcers have and other
Yeah.
coaches. But I think it's awesome. I think it can really blow matches wide open, and I think it is. It's hard. It's hard to score a takedown. You should be rewarded correctly. And I don't think I was a little worried about it at first, but I don't. I think the previous rules, you're seeing more matches go to overtime that shouldn't went to overtime because you get escapes or a stalling or something like that. So I really like it, and it allows guys like Dan Beamer at 184 just to go ham and score takedowns. So like when I was in college, yeah, I scored a lot of takedowns. I think it would have made me improve my takedown finishes a little bit better. But I'm really appreciative of it. I think it was a great idea. I was a little concerned about it at first, but this last couple of weeks, seeing guys on the mat and seeing the scores, and I think it's good. I think it's really good.
The PA wrestlers coming out of high school, it's no question they're better on the mat than Ohio wrestlers. So I'm excited to see what kind of power shift dynamic this causes in college, because there's just no question. The PA high school wrestlers come out of high school, especially that Pittsburgh area, it seems like, come out of high school and they're ready to hit the mat, and they are so much more advanced than Ohio wrestlers have been. But now, with a three-point takedown, much more emphasis put on the feet, it's going to be interesting. Is there going to be a power shift? I don't know. I am excited to see it, though. I think it's a great addition. I'm with you. I think it's a great addition to the sport, and I'm wondering how long you think it'll take before that trickles down to high school.
It's interesting. It depends. I think it's going to come sooner than later. Um, because I mean, usually that's how rules are. I mean, we've had some rule changes in the last 5 years in college, which haven't transitioned to the high school yet. But you still see like the push out rule for high school, as far as like calling people for stallings, kind of transitioned down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the takedown one will too. I think when you get too many rules or different rule sets for each style, it gets weird. So I see it happening. Like I said, it can make a match go pretty quick. You get a takedown in that 4-point turn, it's 7-0.
Yeah.
I mean, you could finish the match. I've seen tech falls in 2 minutes, whereas they usually would have took maybe 5, or the match would have kept on going. So I think it's good for the sport. It makes it more exciting.
Well, how about the typical one is when you're better than somebody, you get that first takedown, the kick out, and you get that second takedown inside the last 20 seconds. Now your ride out is 6-1 instead of 4-1 with a ride out. I mean, that's huge in college.
Well, yeah, it kicks out. Like I think you don't have to get like two, or you have to get 2 or 3 less takedowns to get a tech fall. As far as if you're just kicking out people and taking them down, like
Yeah.
that's significant time. That's a whole like minute less. You know,
Yeah.
so I think it makes it more fun.
Cool. Hey, Coach, I don't want to take any more of your time. Man, I really appreciate you calling in, getting some great insight from you. I'll be there February 2nd to watch you guys wrestle. It's alumni night. It's youth night. Looking forward to that night. So
Yeah, so am
that's
I.
Coach.
So am I.
That's Coach Sponseller, Ashland University Wrestling.